So welcome everybody to this latest video on 162 Maths, and in this video we'll be going over the AQA GCSE Maths practice paper higher set 2 paper 1, which is a non-calculator paper. Now we'll include a link to the paper in the description below for you to have an attempt at if you haven't got access to it, which I recommend that you have a go at before watching this video and going through the answers. And I'll also include the grade boundary suggested for this paper so you can see what grade you would have attained from your marking of your paper. So let's get started on this AQA GCSE Maths practice paper set 2 paper 1, which is non-calculator. So looking at question 1, it says to expand the brackets of x and then x plus 3. So if we do just that, we end up with x squared plus 3x, which is our third option. Then for question 2, it says which of these has the greatest value. So I would recommend that you just write each of these numbers in ordinary form. So for this first one, we get 61500. That one's already been converted. This one's going to be 62 with 2 zeros, and then for this third one it's going to be 616 with 2 zeros. And which one's the biggest? Well, it's our fourth option. Then with question 3, it says what is 0.12 as a fraction of 0.8. So for this I would recommend that you write 0.12 over 0.8. If you multiply both by 10, we get 12 over 80, or by 100 rather, and then we simplify this fraction so it becomes 6 over 40, 3 over 20, which is our first option. And with question 4, it says the base of a pyramid has n sides. Circle the expression for the number of faces of the pyramid, and that's going to be our fourth option. Now again, if you're not sure about these, I would recommend you just do a little sketch of the pyramids. So that one had 4 when it's got it's got 3 sides, and so this is the faces. Sides is 3, and then if we drew another one with this time with 4 with the sides of 4, and that's going to have 5 faces. As you can see, it's just a difference of 1. Then moving on to question 5, it says 4 identical circles just fit inside a square as shown. Work out the area of the shaded area section. So the shaded area is always the big shape minus the small. So here our big one is the square and our small are the 4 circles. So here the area of the square is going to be 12 squared, which is 144, and 1 circle is going to be pi times the radius squared. So here one of these circles will have a diameter of 6, which means then the radius is going to be 3. So I've got 3 squared times pi, which is 9 pi. Now I've got 4 circles, so what I've got is then the shaded area is going to be 144 minus 4 circles, which is, oh, don't know what's gone on there. So it's going to be 4 times 9 pi, which gives me an answer of 144 minus 36 pi, and there is my final answer. Then looking at question 6, it says bag A contains 10 blue balls and 20 red balls. Bag B contains 8 blue balls and 12 red balls. A ball is chosen at random from each bag. Joe says it's more likely that a blue ball is chosen from bag A than bag B because there are more blue balls in bag A. Is she correct? Well, here we look at this probability. The prob of selecting a blue from A is going to be 10 over 20, which is a half, which is 0.5. The probability of selecting a blue from B is going to be 8 out of 12, which is 2 out of 3. And that as a decimal is 0.6 recurring. So is she correct? No, as the probability of selecting a blue ball is greater in bag B. So something along those lines would be absolutely fine. Now for question 7a, it says that Rob is going to drive 130 miles from Hull to Liverpool. There are roadworks for 25 miles on the journey. He assumes his average speed will be 50 miles per hour where there are roadworks, and 70 miles per hour for the rest of the journey. Use his assumptions to work out his journey time. So for this, what we need to do first is recognize that distance equals speed over time. So think about your triangle, even though they're stopping you using your triangles now. But in terms of working it out, we know that time, which is what we're working out, is distance over speed. So for this, what we need to do first is work out how much is uninterrupted by the road work. So that's going to be, so straight road equals 130 minus 25, which is 105. So in terms of distance on the straight road, it's going to be 105 divided by the speed, which is 70. And if we work that out, either by doing long division or by working out with division, we know that that's going to be 1.5 hours. Then the distance during the roadworks is going to be the distance, which is 25 miles, over the speed, which we know is 0.5 hours. So then the total time is going to be those two added together. So the total time is going to be 1.5 plus 0.5, which gives me an answer of 2 hours. Or if you've worked it out in minutes, it'll be 120 minutes. Then it says Rob's assumptions about his average speed are too high. How does this affect his journey? Well, it's going to take longer, or take more time, whichever implies that it's going to take longer than expected. Now for question 8, it says Jack works out the answer to, and then root 85.5 minus 12.1, all divided by 0.8 minus 0.8, and he says that his answer is negative. Is he correct? Well, we know that this here is going to be a number that's less than 10. So root 98.5 is less than 10. Don't know, I've put two n's there, so let's get rid of that one n. Is less than 10. So the numerator, and the reason for it's being less than 10, as root 100 equals 10 and 98.5 is less, so the answer will be less than 10. So the numerator will be negative, and then once you have a negative number divided by another negative number, then that's going to give you a positive answer. So is he correct? No, he is not correct. Then for question 9, it says use a ruler and a pair of compasses in this question to construct a perpendicular bisector for A and B. Now this is going to be very difficult to do on the computer, so what you need to do is set your compass, and there is a very poor diagram of a compass, and what you want to do is set your distance so it's more than halfway of the line. And then what you then want to do is put your pin on A. I'll just use a different pen. So put your pin there and draw an arc like so. Then put, without adjusting the compass, draw a pin, put your pin on B and draw another arc. And what you should find is something that looks like this. And then what you then want to do is with your ruler is then draw a line through those two intersection points of your arc. And so it should look something like that, but yours will definitely be a lot more accurate than that. And definitely do not rub out your construction lines. For question 10, it says here are the instructions on a bottle of fruit squash. So to make fizzy juice, you need to mix 2 parts of the fruit squash with 7 parts of the lemonade. Tom has 80 milliliters of fruit squash and he also has 210 milliliters of lemonade. What is the maximum amount of fizzy juice he can make? So let's start off by writing the ratio. So we've got fruit squash and we've got lemonade, and that's in the ratio of 2 to 7. Now here we've got that 80 milliliters of fruit squash, so here 1 part maximum is going to be 40 milliliters. So then looking at the lemon and the lemonade, we know that we've got 210 mil, so then that means that 1 part, the maximum it can be, is 30 mil. Now for this you've got to go for the smallest amount. So we're going to assume that 1 part is 30 milliliters. So 1 part equals 30 milliliters. So if we then know that 1 part is 30 milliliters, 2 parts is going to equal 2 times 30, which is 60 mil, and that's of the fruit squash. And 7 parts is going to be 7 times 30, which is 210 mil of lemonade. So we're maxing out no wastage on the lemonade at all, and that gives us a total of 270 milliliters in total. The next question then says that a ball is dropped from a height of 50 meters. After each bounce, the ball reaches 20% of the previous height. How high does it reach on its second bounce? So on the first bounce, it's going to be 20% of 50. Now 10% is 5, so 20% is going to be 10. So that's how far it reaches. And on its second bounce, it's going to be 20% of 10. Well, 1%, 10% is 1, so 20% is going to be 2. So then our answer then is 2 meters. So moving on to question 12, it says that a circle has a diameter of 10 centimeters and a square has a length of 6 centimeters. Use Pythagoras' theorem to show that the square will fit inside the circle without touching the edge. So if this is true, then the diagonal of the square must be less than 10. So what we need to do is then work out what this length here is going to be. I'm just going to call that x. Now as it's a square, both sides are going to be equal to 6. So here we've got x squared equals 6 squared plus 6 squared. So x squared equals 36 plus 36. X squared equals 72. And so x equals the square root of 72. So as the square root of 72 is going to be less than 10, the square will fit inside the circle. So something along those lines would be absolutely fine. Then for question 13, it says what percentage of the distribution is covered by the interquartile range, and that is an easy one, which is 50%. Then for question 14, it says which of these values cannot be the cosine of an angle, and that is going to be 1.5. Then question 15, it says that a motor racing circuit has a length of 5 5/6 miles. A straight section of the circuit has a length of 1 3/4. What fraction of the circle is straight section? So for this, what we need to do is we need to first of all write out what it is. So we actually got that the wrong way around. So it should be 1 3/4 over 5 5/6. So then if you convert those into improper fractions, so then we have 7 over 4 over 35 over 6. And then if I convert that into a division, we get this. Then obviously using the rules of division and dividing fractions, we flip the second fraction and we turn it into a multiply. Now at this stage, you could work it out, 7 times 6 over 4 times 35, which is absolutely fine. Or you could recognize that we can cancel these down. So we can change that to a 1 and a 5. We can also change that to a 2 and a 3, giving us much easier numbers to multiply with. So here 1 times 3 is 3 and 2 times 5 is 10, giving me a final answer of 3/10. Then with question 16, it says in the Venn diagram, we know that there are a total of 100 farms. W represents the farms that grow wheat. B represents the farms that grow barley. And in this, we've got that 70 farms only grow wheat or only barley. 4/5 of these farms grow only wheat. The number of farms that grow wheat is 3 times the number that grow barley. And what we need to do is complete the Venn diagram. So first things first, there's a couple of ways in which we could do this. I'm going to do this one way, but as long as the numbers are correct in your Venn diagram, then it's going to be full marks all the way. So here, let's start off by working out what 4/5 of 70 is going to be. And 4/5 of 70 is going to be 70 divided by 5, which is 14 times by 4, which gives me 56. So that means then that this number here is going to be 56. Now this number plus this number has got to add up to 70 rather. So that means then that this number here is going to be 14. So 70 minus 56 equals 14. Now for the next one, we know that the number of farms that grow wheat, which is this circle here, is 3 times the number of this. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use a bit of algebra. I'm going to call this x. So here what we've got is we've got 56 plus x equals, and so if the red circle is 3 times as big as the blue circle, in order for them to balance, I need 3 lots of the blue circle. So that's going to be 3 lots of x minus 14. Now if I expand all the brackets out, so I get 56 plus x equals 3x minus 42. Then from this, what we get, and that should be a plus rather, and then from this what we then get is solve this equation for x. So we've got 56 equals 2x plus 42. So then we get 14 equals, and it's going to be 2x, so x equals 7. So then I can rub this out and name that as 7. Now I know that all the numbers inside the Venn diagram need to add up to 100. So if I do 100 minus 56 minus 7 minus 14, I get an answer of 23. So 23 goes there. Now again, if you've thought of an alternate method but the numbers are correct in the correct place, then you will get those 5 marks. But it's always important to show you're working out. For question 17, it says work out the values of a and b. So what we need to do here is expand and simplify the left hand side. So first of all, expanding out the brackets, we get 3x squared minus 6x plus 1x minus 2. And that's plus ax plus b. Then simplifying the brackets, I get 3x squared minus 5x minus 2 plus ax plus b. Now what I'm going to do now is collate the coefficients of x. So I get 3x squared minus 5x plus ax minus 2 plus b. Now if I then bring back the right hand side of 3x squared minus 8x plus 5, now comparing the x's, I get that minus 5 plus a must equal positive 8, and working that out, then what I then get is a equals 13. Then looking at the b, now I don't know why I've got a minus 2b there, so looking at this, that minus 2 plus b must equal minus 5. So minus 2 plus b equals minus 5. So b equals minus 3, and there is my coefficients completed. Then moving on to question 18, it says in a game a fair spinner has 3 sections. Joe uses this method to work out the probability of getting 2 reds from 2 spins. He writes that there are 3 colours, so the probability of getting a spinner landing on a red is a third, and a third plus a third equals 2/3, so the probability is 2/3. Make 2 criticisms of Joe's method. Now again, a couple of answers you could have is, one is mentioning that the probability of red is wrong, and the probability of red is actually a quarter, not 2/3. And the second criticism is that when you're doing and, you should add multiply, so he should be multiplying the probabilities, not adding. So something along those lines would be absolutely fine. It then says the probability of getting 2 blues is from 2 spins is 1/25. Work out the angle of the blue section. So for this, what we've got is we've got x times x equals 1/25. So x squared equals 1/25. And if we square root that, we get x equals a fifth. Now it can't equal minus because you can't get a negative probability. So x equals a fifth. So the angle is going to be 1/5 of 360, and 360 divided by 5 is going to give you an answer of 72. Then with question 19, it says show that, and then we've got this algebraic fraction simplifies this. So what we need to do first is get a common denominator. So here our common denominator, we're going to multiply this by 2, and we're going to multiply this fraction by 3. So what do we get? So we get 2 lots of 2x plus 1 over 6 plus 3 lots of 5x minus 2 over 6, and then that then becomes 4x plus 2 plus 15x minus 6 all over 6, and if we simplify all of that we get 19x minus 4 over 6, and that is my final answer. For question 20, it says that a circle has the equation of x squared plus y squared equals a quarter. Circle the length of its radius. Well, x squared plus y squared equals r squared, so r squared equals a quarter, so r equals the square root of that, which is a half, and that is our fourth option. Then looking at question 21, it says which expression gives the area in centimeters squared? Well, the area of this is usually base times height divided by 2, but we don't know that, so I'm using the formula of half AB sine C. So half times A, which is 8, times B, which is 10, times sine of x. And then if we simplify all of this, 8 times 10 is 80, divided by 2 is 40. So we're looking for 40 sine x, which is our second option. For question 22, it says express 0.15 recurring as a fraction in its simplest form. So again, x equals 0.15. Then we multiply it by 10 to get 1.5 recurring, multiply it by 100, and we get 15.5 recurring. Then if I take those two things away, but I'm going to write it out again just so that I don't have to deal with negative numbers, and 10x equals 1.5. Take away the 2 lines, so I get 90x equals 14, so x equals 14 over 90, which is 7 over 45, and there is my final answer. Then moving on to question 23, it says that Ellie bought a scarf and a dress. The scarf cost £4. She sold both items for a total of £26. She made 100% profit on the cost of a scarf and 30% profit on the total cost. Work out the percentage profit of the cost of the dress. Now this one is worth 5 marks, so it is going to involve quite a fair bit of work. So looking at this, then the first thing you want to do is recognise that at £26 equals 130% profit of the cost. So what we want to do is work out the original, so the cost price is going to be 26 divided by 130 times 100, which is 2,600 divided by 130, and then if we then work that out, we end up finding that the cost price is £20. So from this, if we know that the cost of the scarf costs £4, then the cost of the dress is going to be 20 minus 4, which equals £16. Now we know that the sale price of the dress is going to be 26 minus, well, 100% of profit is going to be selling it for £8. So that's going to be £18. And so then what we need to do is work out the percentage profit. So it's going to be the difference between these two numbers. So the percentage profit is the difference, which is £2, divided by the original times by 100. So here what we've got is we're going to have an eighth times 100. So we've got 100 divided by 8. And again, if I do some division, so 8 over 100, we get the answer of 12.5. So looking at question 24, it says work out the cube root of 8 times 5 to the power of minus 2. So here the cube root of 8 is 2, and 5 to the power of minus 2 is 1 over 5 squared, which is 25. And then what you then want to do is 2 times 1 over 25, which is 2 over 25, which is 4 over 50, which is 8 over 100. And what's 8 over 100 as a decimal? 0.08. And then for question 25, it says that a sequence of numbers is formed by the iterative process of an plus 1 equals an squared minus an. And it says describe the sequence when a1 equals 1. So if a1 equals 1, then a2 is going to be 1 squared minus 1, which is 1 take away 1, which is 0. A3 is then going to be 0 squared minus 0, which is 0. A4 is going to be 0 squared minus 0. So basically, after 1, it's all zeros. Then for question 25, it says describe the sequence when a1 is minus 1. So if a1 is minus 1, then a2 is going to be minus 1 squared minus minus 1, which is 1 plus 1, which is 2. A3 is going to be 2 squared minus 2, which then is 4 take away 2, which is 2. Then A4 is going to be 2 squared minus 2, which is 4 take away 2, which is 2. So basically, after minus 1, it's always 2. Now looking at question 25c, it says work out the value of A2 when A1 equals 1 minus root 2. So A2 equals, and it's the previous term, which is 1 minus root 2 squared, minus the previous term, which is 1 minus root 2. Now from this, if I just work on the side, 1 minus root 2 squared is 1 minus root 2 times 1 minus root 2, which then gives me 1 minus 1 root 2 minus 1 root 2 plus root 4, which gives me a total then of 3 minus 2 root 2. So I can substitute this with 3 minus 2 root 2, minus 1 plus root 2, and then 3 take away 1 is 2, and minus root 2, minus 2 root 2 plus 1 root 2 gives me minus root 2. Then moving on to question 26, it says A, B and C are points on a circle and centre O. AC is the diameter of the circle, AT is a tangent to the circle, and it says work out the size of angle X and angle Y. Now in this, although we've given quite a few lines, we can do our working out on the diagram now. So what you want to then recognize that in this particular diagram, I can see a alternate segment theorem, I can see a bow, I can see a triangle in a semicircle, and I can see an isosceles triangle. Now there are always several ways. You can even get Y before you get to X, but it's entirely up to you how it works out, but I'm just going to go through how we would know this. So this triangle here is a right angle triangle, and the reason for that is because here the hypotenuse of that triangle is the diameter, and the opposite angles is 90 degrees. Now from this I can also see a bow, in which my bow looks like this. So what we know then, that this angle here is going to be 30. So to work out angle X, it's going to be 180 minus 30 minus 90, which equals 60 degrees. So this angle here is 60 degrees. Then from the next one, for Y, I notice that this triangle here is an isosceles triangle because the two sides are both a radius. So this angle here is going to be 180. Let me just draw a little arrow. 180 minus 72 divided by 2, which gives me an angle of 54 degrees. So this angle here is 54. Now what I also know is that C and A is the diameter of the circle, or in other words also the radius, and the radius meets the tangent at 90 degrees. So it means that this green angle plus Y adds up to 90 degrees. So if the green angle is 54, so 54 plus Y equals 90, so Y equals 36 degrees. And there is my two answers. So x equals 60 and y equals 36. Then moving on to question 27, it says write root 12 plus 15 over root 3 in the form of a root b, where a and b are prime numbers. So for this, what we need to do is just rationalize the denominator and we'll write it as a common fraction. So here we've got root 12 is root 4 times root 3, which is 2 root 3. So I can rewrite this fraction as 2 root 3 plus 15 over root 3. Then if I convert this into a fraction by multiplying by root 3 over root 3, then what I get is I get 2 root 9 over root 3 plus 15 over root 3. Now 2 root 9 is basically 2 times 3, which is 6. So I've got 6 plus 15 all over root 3, which gives me 21 over root 3. Then if I multiply and rationalize the denominator by multiplying by root 3, I get 21 root 3 over root 9, which leaves me with 21 root 3 over 3. I could then cancel the 21 and the 3 to give me 7 root 3, and there is my final answer. And just to double check, A7 is prime and B3 is prime as well. Then moving on to our last question, which is looking at quadratic or one non-linear simultaneous equation. What you want to do here is make one of the letters the subject in our linear equation. So we want to work out what x and y are. So let's rearrange this. Now, obviously it makes more sense for me to make y the subject. So what I've got is I've got 5x minus 5 equals y, or y equals 5x minus 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute this wherever I see a y. So from this, what I've got is I've got two lots of 5x minus 5 minus x squared equals 11. Expand this out, get 10x minus 10 minus x squared equals 11. Now if we chuck all of this over to the side to make equal to 0, I get x squared, and then it'll be minus 10x and then plus 21. And then I can factorize this, hopefully. Yes, I can. So I've got I've got minus 3x minus 7 equals 0. So here I've got the solutions of x equals 3 and x equals 7. Now when x equals 3, what I've then got is 5 lots of 3 minus y equals 5. So I've got 15 minus y equals 5. So y equals 10. And when x equals 7, I get 5 lots of 7 minus y equals 5. So I get 35, sorry. Minus y equals 5, so y equals 30. So then writing those as coordinates, what we then get is we get 3 and 10 and 7 and 30. And there we go. Now if you did write your answers, make sure that your x's and y's are nicely paired. So x equals 3 and y equals 10, or x equals 7 and y equals 30. Try not to have your answers floating around. Always make sure that it's easy to see which pairs, which respective values of x go with which values of y, and they are done. Now we'll put a copy of the grade boundaries for this individual paper in the description below, so you can see what mark that when you've marked your answers, what grade you have attained on this individual paper.